Hello everyone and welcome to another video on my channel. In this one I'm going to show you how to master daily race C, and the combo I'm going to be showing you for this week is at the Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit / Bathurst, and we are using these Gr3 cars here. So what I'm going to be going through this video is I'm first of all going to go through these race settings here, then I'm going to show you my time trial lap followed by the detailed lap after that, and I'll show you a full race distance I did from the back of the grid earlier in the day. So if you could guys, I'd appreciate a like and a sub if you enjoy and found these videos helpful and enjoyable to watch. And of course, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll answer to the best of my ability. But without further ado, let's get to these race settings. So as you can see, it's a 10-lap race, 16-car grid, rolling start, times 2 fuel, times 3 tyre wear. We don't have to worry about fuel, I can tell you that now. Racing soft, so even though it's only times 3 tyre wear, with the characteristics of this track, you do need to tyre save a little bit, in my opinion, just so that you have good tyres for the 4th and 5th laps of each stint. Since this is a tyre change race, since times 3 on softs, it's still a little bit of tyre wear, especially with quite a few high-speed corners like this track has here. You are allowed to change the brake balance. DR and SR is affected. Light mechanical damage. You do have to make a pit stop. Normal track limits, weak shortcut penalty. There's only 1 or 2 places you can get track limits on, really, so don't really need to worry about that. Roll collision penalty is on weak, so if you smash into the barriers, you will get a half-second penalty that I did in one of the races I did earlier. So just be aware, try not go all out, don't go all out, try and maximize pace in a race, etc. Because if you do smash into the barrier, you will get a half-second penalty. Where the penalty zones on this track, you will lose quite a bit of time. So it's better to be consistent than have war pace here, in my opinion. Other car collision penalties on, so obviously don't ram into people, and the pit lane line cutting penalties on, which is one of the easiest tracks I would say to get a 3-second penalty on for pit entrance. So be careful on that. But I'm going to show you my lap time now, which is currently number 1 in the world, which is a 1:59.979. But I did it in the F-type. I do think that's a couple attempts in it personally, but it's a good reference lap for you guys to see. So I'm going to show you my fastest lap now, followed by a detailed lap afterwards. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you in the next clip. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed the lap. And now I'm going to show you how I did that sort of lap time. But before I do that, I forgot to very briefly mention about the possible cars I think will be good for time trial here. So I reckon the good time trial cars will be the F-Type that I'm in. The Beta will be decent. The Genesis should be decent. I imagine the Super would be okay as well. The old Porsche as well. That car's pretty good on high-speed BOP. Maybe the WRX and Evo should be okay here as well with their accelerations. I can see the Lexus being okay here as well. Probably not as good as those, but if you're going to Lexus, there's no reason you can't do a good lap time here. The new Porsche should be decent as well. And that's about it I will mention, I believe. Maybe M6 as well. I'll mention M6 as well. That'll be a good car here. But anyway, those are sort of TT cars I reckon that'll be good around here. But now let me show you the lap I did. So, in the F-type you shift at the end of the bar, like you can see now. And for the first corner, you go past this 100 board here. But I'm braking about here. So about a car length before this shadow here as it goes across the track. So it's this lamppost shadow. I brake a car length before the shadow here. The apex speed you roughly want to take for this corner is about 65, 66 miles per hour in the F-type. I imagine a car like a Beetle would probably be about 67 or even 68. So those are sort of miles per hour range you want to take in the first corner. Try not to touch too much of the inside curb because it can shove you off the track or ride, so that you have to delay the throttle. So try just clip the curb, the inside curb, but nothing much more than that. You basically want your left wheels to be in between this white line and this red and white curb here. Get on the throttle so you can use all the outside curb there, just to maximise the run out of a corner and get the best possible exit. The first sector here is a 89.24, yeah, very good first sector actually. I do think there's a couple hundredths in it there. This corner, I'm braking just before the end of this asphalt here, so just before the grass starts, so I'm braking here. I could probably brake a touch later, but I find when I start to brake later, I'll just unsteer a bit too much on the entry, so I prefer to brake a touch earlier here and use the inside curb to help rotate the car. The minimum apex speed for this corner was around 85 miles per hour in this corner. I'll say now as well, try not to touch the inside curb, at least a lot of it, because it can unsettle the car and oversteer. Also, don't go too wide here, because it is cambered, so you need to be as close to the inside curb as you can, since you want to use that camber to pick up the throttle earlier and minimise distance, basically. You can gain a lot of time using this camber properly. If you don't use the camber, you will lose time here. And I will say in a race, always if you're fighting someone, always defend the inside here, because there's a lot more grip on the inside than on the outside, just because of the camber of this corner. This next corner here, I take it flat, so as soon as the barriers stop sticking out here, so I'm about to turn, in fact I've just started to turn now. Let me go to race photo so I can describe easier. So as soon as you see this little roll bit here stop sticking out and move to the right, that is when I started to turn to the left. This is flat. As soon as I got to here, past this part, I do a small lift right here. And the reason I do a small lift here is because I don't want to start braking and go too wide where I'm touching the outside right line, because that is where you lose grip and you'll just understeer too wide on the hairpin. So I do a small safety lift here, but I pick up the throttle again like that. Oh no, I don't pick up the throttle again, sorry. But I carry on lifting for a bit. So I'll brake about, it's very hard to see a reference actually. I'm just going to go for a blind frame here. So I'll do a small lift here. I start to brake now, so just before this inside tree here, basically, if you can see that. Or this tree on the side here. This is the sort of braking reference I was using for this corner. I didn't really have a braking reference for myself. The more laps I did, the more sort of guideline I had to brake. I didn't really use a reference here. It was just more on a feeling. But for this corner, I was aiming to be about 62 miles per hour minimum apex speed for this hairpin here. Right here. Try not to go on the inside of this right line, because you can lose grip here and it can unsettle the car a little bit on the exit as well. So you want to get as close to the right line without touching it as possible. Like I said, about 62 miles per hour here. And as soon as you go halfway around the corner, that's when you want to start picking up the throttle smoothly. You don't want to go 100% immediately. As you can see, I was at roughly 50% initially, then I went up to 80%, just so that I could put the power down without having too much oversteer. And then as soon as I got towards the outside of this corner, as you can see now, I'm 100% throttle. This is flat, but again, be careful on steering here, because if you put too much steering in, you will have oversteer and you'll lose a bit of time here. So be careful on your steering input here. This corner, in time trial and in the race in fact, it is flat, but I used this outside tree as my braking reference. As soon as I got past this tree, that's when I started to turn to the right. In fact, I've just started to turn to the right now. But I'm using this tree as a turning reference, but this is easy flat. Try clip on the inside curb here because it can rotate your car around the corner a bit better, so you can easily make it flat. Here, I like to go a bit wide here, just to line myself up for this next corner well. And as soon as I got halfway between this armor all barrier on the outside, or you can use this tree as a reference before the pedigree sign on the wall here. That is a good turning reference for this corner. And I do a small lift, as you can see now, just so that I can pick up the footle and get a good exit out of this corner here. Try to clip on this inside curb, but if you use too much inside curb, it will shove you to the outside wall. And that's how I got a penalty early in the race, because I took too much curb and the car just doesn't settle on the curb here. I do scrape the wall a bit, unfortunately, so I lose a couple hundredths. But here, on a wheel, I imagine you can use this outside curb and lift. But on a controller, if I was to use the outside curb, at least in this car, the car would go a little bit airborne and I'll just miss the next corner completely. So what I like to do is I will go frame by frame until you start to see me lift. So about here is when I start to lift as I go past the curb. There you go. I will lift. I will completely coast here, as you can see. As soon as I go over the bump, I will pick up the throttle again. For this next corner, you want to be about 137 miles per hour, and you want an early apex here, because I think it's a little camber here. I'm not sure if it's a little camber or it's just more grip on the inside in general. But if you look for the late apex, you'll just lose so much time on the entry. Here, as soon as you see this little spare road on the outside here up here, that's when I start to turn to the right. And then as soon as I go under this Audi R8 sign here, so any second now, there you go, I do a small lift in this first part, and a tap for brakes. This part I took around 140 miles per hour from memory. As soon as I go past the right part, I hold the brakes 100%, down to about 110 miles per hour by the time you get to the entry of this left part of the corner here. So here you want to be about 110 miles per hour. Try get your left tire to be on this green ashtray part of the curb here, just to open up the entry for this last part. But as soon as you get halfway around this bit, that's when I go 100% brakes again, down to about 73 miles per hour for this last right part here. I kept it in second. I could have downshifted to first, but I found when I downshifted to first here, it will just unsettle the car too much. So you want to get as close to this barrier as possible and just coast around this bit. As soon as I get about half a car length after this red barrier on the outside, and when it changes to the white colour, half a car length later, I do a small tap of brakes here. Well, not tap for brakes. I hold the brakes for a bit, down to about 65 miles per hour. Get pretty close to the inside barrier, but if you cut too much, it will unsettle the car because of the elevation. So you don't want to turn too early here. You want to be, I'd say you want to be a half a car length on the grass here and half a car length on the track preferably. I could have turned a little bit earlier and gone on the foot a bit earlier. But as soon as I go over this grass, I'm initially on the 60% throttle area, and as soon as the track gets flat again, that's when I pick up 100% throttle, as you can see here. So I'll do this a bit of time there. Here, as soon as the wall on the outside changes to right, or grey, I think it's right, I do a small lift and a small tap for brakes. Here you want to be about 110 miles per hour. And then as soon as the blue barrier starts, that is when I'm going to start braking. So any second now, there you go. I am braking as I go past this blue part of the wall here, or barrier. The next apex speed you're looking to get here is about 58 miles per hour here. And you want to use the camber on the inside so that you can pick up the throttle earlier and minimise distance. So here, turn a bit early, use all this camber, get as close to this wall as you can. I could have maybe gotten a little bit closer, as you can see here. Yeah, I could have gotten a bit closer, but as soon as you go past this left part of this corner here, that's when you want to pick up the throttle like that. And get as good of a run out of this corner as possible, because you're going to be flat out for the next 20 to 30 seconds. I believe 20 seconds. So it's an extremely important exit you get here. especially in a race, because that can be the difference between defending for the next corner and overtaking for the next corner, etc. So you need a really good exit here. This corner, I brake a little bit early here on this particular lap, and I lose a little bit of time here. But I tend to brake either on the S here after the 150 reference, or the start of this red. I believe it's a Seat sign or something. It's not a Seat sign, but it looks like a Seat logo. So I brake here. You can't see my ABS light showing up, but you can see a tiny bit of my braking appear on the left side of the screen here, next to the rev counter. So as you can see, use either the end of this here or the start of this red logo here as your braking reference for this corner. As you can see, I took a bit too much curb here. Ideally, you want to have your left tyres just touch the inside curb here. But the minimum apex speed I was looking for this corner was around 75 miles per hour. Pick up the throttle as early as you can, since again you need a good exit here. And for this last corner here, there's this 100 reference, there's this tree, and there's this shadow here. I broke basically as I got past this tree here. So as soon as this tree starts to disappear from my screen here, that's when I start to brake. I could probably brake a touch later, maybe a couple meters later. But the minimum apex speed you're looking for this last corner is around 61 miles per hour. Try not to touch it inside curb as well, because it can unsettle the car and shove you a bit wide. Pick up the throttle nicely, use all the outside curb to get the best possible exit, and that is a 1:59.979. Very good lap, but now I'm going to very quickly go over it and just pause it at the braking reference. So here, I brake here. This what it looks like in bonnet, chase camera, and cockpit camera. The minimum apex speed for this corner was 65-66 miles per hour, somewhere along that range. This next corner coming up, I brake just before the entry of the grass here. So this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit camera. The minimum apex speed for this corner was around 85-86 miles per hour. Again, be careful on the steering here, because it can unsettle the car if you put too much steering angle here. Here, I started turning to the left as the outside wall stopped sticking out. So this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. Do a small left here. About half a second later, brake. This is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. Minimum apex speed for this corner was around 61 miles per hour. Don't use the inside right line because it can unsettle the car on the exit. Be careful on the steering angle here. I turned as I start to go past this tree, so this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit camera here. This is flat, so I won't mention the apex speed, it depends on the car you're in. Here, turn to the left, and I start to turn more to the left just before this tree here, before this pedigree sign. I turn just before I go past this tree, so this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. And I do a small lift here. You want to be about 135 miles per hour here. I do touch the wall here because I was 136 here. I do a small lift as I start to go past the entry curb here, so this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit camera. Minimum apex speed here was around 137 miles per hour. Here, I do a small lift as I go past this Audi R8 sign underneath above us right now. So it's what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. Here you want to be about 130 miles per hour from memory. Here you want to be about 110 miles per hour. So it's what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. As soon as I click play again, that's when you're going to see me put 100% brakes. So 3, 2, 1, now. And then half car length after, or car length after the barrier or wall has changed to the white colour. In fact, I'm not there yet. So about here. So just before the end of this curve here, that's when you start to apply the brakes. So this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. Minimum apex speed for this corner is around 65 miles per hour, 65, 66. As the barrier changes to the white colour on the right hand side here, that is when you start to do a small tap of the brakes and turn to the right. So this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. 110 miles per hour here. Carry on coasting a bit, and as soon as you go past this blue wall on the outside, that's when you start to tap the brakes here, or brake in general. So this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. Minimum apex speed for this corner was around 58 miles per hour. Pick up the throttle as early as you can. Use that camber to pick up the throttle early and get the best possible exit, so you're flat out for the next 20 seconds. And for the second last corner here, I brake a bit early here, so I'm going to pause it where you should be braking about here. This is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit. The minimum apex speed for this corner was around 75-76 miles per hour. So I definitely lost a temp there, because I was too much on the inside curb and I had to delay the throttle. For this last corner here, I brake just after I go past this tree, so this is what it looks like in bonnet, chase, and cockpit, or you can just use a car length before the start of this shadow here. But the minimum apex speed for this corner is around 61 miles per hour. Don't touch the inside curb because it can shock you off the track. And like I said, this is a 159.979, I think it was. Yeah, there you go. Really good lap. I'm happy with that lap. But now I'm going to go to the race from the back of a grid with some commentary in background. Cheers, guys. I'll see you in the next clip. Well, guys, so I'm going to show you a race from the back of a grid that I did earlier today. So I'm in the Gr3 F-Type. I get just using time trial. Obviously, it's about a lot of time since I did this before doing time trial. So the reason I'm doing it from the back is just to show the possible overtaking spots, different cars and their car characteristics, and just for fun. Since I'm going to be racing a lot of this week, I'm going for fun. So huge shout out to Yellow Crayon. He let me go, and I'm pretty sure he let more than Tamika as well. Pretty sure he let Luke go as well. So thanks for that, mate. But the reason I'm racing from the back is just for fun and racing. So you do not have to let me bar, and I'll go this way. If I'm at the back, you don't have to let me bar, unless you feel like it just makes sense to let me have to be the first one. Use my section to try and catch up to the guy's head. So anyway, so I'm going to very quickly re-go over the race settings, since it is quite important to be racing. So time to fuel, we don't have to worry about. We have to use softs. I say we have to use softs. Softs is the only slick compound of tyre we have available. We do also have to make a pit stop in this race, and it's times 3 tyre wear. So even though times 3 doesn't sound like a huge amount, especially got only 10 laps, since it is a soft tyre, it is actually quite a lot of tyre. So here I am at my road. I apologise for the little bump there. I just didn't anticipate for you to break that early. But anyway, now my aim here is I would usually maybe bum draft him in normal traffic, etc., to try and keep up the guy's head and gain more time straight. But because it's back first, I don't want to be stuck behind people. So if they were to crash in front of me into the barriers, I would very likely either A, fall them into the barriers since I've been following them in the bumper count, since I won't really be able to see the track over my head, or B, when they crash, I don't have enough time to react and I go into them. Here there was a free ride moment, so I got past the super here, and then I go on the inside of the Spaniard in the super here. He did turn a bit into it. I think he did try to leave his space, to be fair. It's just that I don't want to touch the inside curb, since if I was to touch that inside curb, I'd likely go off the curb, bump into him, and then he'll get off the track. So little side-by-side contact, but nothing much in it. I let him plenty of space on the outside as well and stuff like that. But after the first stop with grade 3 or 4 places, not too bad. I believe 3 places. So we are now behind Aita, who I know he passed is not a bad driver, so I knew I could use the section in this sector to try and get away from people. I'm Taisei, so I'm going to focus and talk about the course of Taisei. Since you want the best possible tyres for the end of the stint to be aggressive and have good pace in general, I'm tie-saving on basically every left-hander. The reason I am doing that is because this track is a clockwise circuit, not clockwise, anti-clockwise, sorry. So that you're going to take a beating from the front right tyre here, especially since the majority of high-speed corners are left-handers, which is where the outside tyre takes the beating, since that's having to do more of the turning to get around the corner, etc. So here, I am tyre saving at, I'm not really tyre saving turn 1, Turn 3, turn 4, so the hairpins, and the corner full hairpin where you do a small lift. I'm tyre saving a bit on. Not really tyre saving the hairpin, more in the braking than the actual corner. Just so that what am I trying to say? Just so that you know, I'm not holding the brake while I'm turning, which is a way to kill the tyres. One of the ways to kill the tyres. I tried to go past 8 here, but I genuinely didn't realise how good the top end of the Genesis was as BBMP. It's even faster than the F-Type, which is crazy since the F-Type is pretty quick and straight. Here I go for the move on 8. Again, on the normal track I was going for it. Unfortunately I broke a bit too early and I touched the inside curb. So I couldn't get him straight away, but little apologies for the side contact here. I'm just trying to leave the most room possible so that I could get a good car length ahead of him here. But what I'm about to do is I don't defend the inside, and I generally didn't defend because I thought Aita would just bump draft me here since I gained half a second on him in the last lap. But he goes for the move here, which is fair enough. And there's a bit of contact, and I lose a second here. But it is what it is. He is allowed to go for the move. I think he did go a touch deep in, but I did turn into him as well, so it is what it is. So I'm going to carry on with the corner tyre saving. So we've just talked about the hairpin. This corner I'm not tyre saving, the next right hand I'm not tyre saving, the flat out left I'm not lifting, but the corner after it I'm tyre saving a lot. When I say a lot, I mean I'm doing like 50% turning here. As you can see with my red dot, it's barely moved to the left. It's like halfway between full left and middle of the screen. Same for this corner because it's a high speed left-hander, so that is where the tyre takes most of the beating. Since you're on the throttle and turning at the same time in a high speed corner, which just puts so much temperature into that right tyre. On top of that, since it's going fast, you're putting more friction onto that tyre, which is white scrubs etc, and you get a lot more tyre wear. So here I go for a move on 8. I did get stuck behind him for this lap unfortunately. Probably lost a second with the battling in that, but you know, more than a second at that, but it is what it is. He is a lot to race at the end of the day. And plus it was quite good racing actually, so GG to you for racing from you. Stopped on the apex a bit there, just so I can get another one on me. We defended that very well actually. We've not done much better. So coming into the downhill section, I'm not tyre saving. What I will say is try not to brake and turn at the same time, if you can help it. Try and coast the last part especially as well. That's all I can really say about that section. The hairpin, again, I'm not really tyre saving, but again, just release the brakes a bit early and coast around the corner, just so that you're not braking and turning at the same time and scrubbing the tyres or locking them up, etc. Not necessarily locking them up with default ABS, but you know, the more the ABS has to kick in, the more wear you'll get on the fronts, because you're basically holding too much brakes while turning, and that's why the ABS would be kicking in. Since if you didn't have ABS, you'd be locking up the tyres. So the ABS is there to kick in and not like lock your front tyres up on the braking, etc. Into the last sectors, not really tyre saving to be honest. Maybe a touch on the exit last corner, I'd maybe ease off the steering a bit earlier, but other than that, I'm not tyre saving. So that is all I need to talk about tyre saving. Now I'm going to talk about the strat. So, since it's a 10 lap race, the optimum strat is to pit on lap 5. However, if you're in a lot of traffic, I would recommend to either pit lap 4, try and get an undercut, or pit lap 6 and try and overcut at least one car. If you don't overcut, it's not the end of the road, because it just means you have better tyres at the end of the race, making them more aggressive and overtake. So as you can see now, there is 3 cars ahead of me. I'm unfortunately not close enough to get on the Super, especially with the Super top end, which is faster than the F-Type. It's just the F-Type has better early acceleration since the Super is turbo lag. So I'm not close enough to go for a loop here unfortunately. So I knew at this point that if none of them were to pit ahead of me, I'm going to go into the pits and try to control all 3. As you can see, all 3 of them stay to the right, so I go in pits. For braking reference for pit entry, I broke about 120 meters using a braking reference on the right. So I break a car length or 2 before the 100 reference board. because if you were to go off the track at any point during the pit entrance, and when I say off track, I mean all 4 tyres off the track, that is how you pick up a 3-second penalty. It doesn't matter if your right tyres go over the grass or your inside goes over the grass once you go past the first initial bit. As long as you've got at least 2 of the tyres in the pit entrance road, then you won't get a 3-second penalty. You can kind of abuse the track limits, and you can have 2 tyres go over the inside grass, 2 tyres on the outside grass to open up the corner and take as much speed into the pit entrance as possible. So here I pitted lap 4. I knew at this point that I do need to sort of push to try and overtake the 3 cars, but at the same time, if I was to push too much, I'd have pretty bad tyres for the end of the race where I would just be very vulnerable to overtakes. So I knew at this point, I'm going to push, but I'm going to still tyre safe in the corners as mentioned. Maybe not quite as much just to make sure I undercut the people, but enough where I still have good tyres for the end of the race, considering I pitted on lap 4. Here I do understeer a bit right into the barrier. Got to remember you've got cold tyres, so you won't have optimum grip at this point. Got max power, did bin it on this downhill section, unfortunately for him. So yeah, you have to be, that's probably the trickiest section of the track personally, downhill section. If you were to brake a touch late or turn a touch early, etc., you would either touch the inside barrier, take too much curb and upset the car, or take too much speed and just veer off into the barriers at any point. You can lose a lot of time here. And if you remember from the intro part of the video, if you were to hit the barrier quite heavily where you got damage, you would get a half-a-second time penalty. And where the penalty line is on this track, you will lose a lot of time taking the penalty. So be very careful on not over pushing, just mainly be consistent. So I'd pit lap 4 if you're trying to undercut 2 or more cars. If there's only 1 car ahead of you, I'd probably just stay out, to be honest, and just use their slipstream, unless they are a lot slower than you. Also, if you may have noticed, you may have saw Macho, who was the leader, accidentally putting the inter tyres on. It is a dry track out there, mate, so you don't want to use the intermediate. Because obviously an absolute key lap straight in. Very easy to do, to be honest. But anyway, as you can see, we have undercutted the 3 cars that were ahead of us. That was Max Power. Was it Max Power? No, it was Aita. No, it wasn't Aita. It was Alessandro Super Hayes. Maybe it was Max Power actually, but he'd been good, so we don't have to worry about it. So we undercutted the people who were ahead. That was with us. What you may also notice is the guy in the lead did stay out an extra lap. He was battling with Manuel Rodri at PTS Sport, so he was probably going for a approach of getting undercutted, tucking back into the 600s and trying to overtake him at the end of the race when they have better tyres. We'll see how that works out in the next few laps. So as you can see here with the steering angle, etc., not putting much steering angle in at all, just so I have good tyres for the race, especially since I pitted on lap 4. So I'm having to do an extra lap on these tyres compared to everyone else. On top of that, I'm also in a car that's not notoriously good on tyres. It's not the heaviest car, but it's just got a lot of weight in the front, and with the setup of the car, it kind of rotates with the throttle, which kind of hurts the front tyres because you're basically asking the fronts to sort of slide while putting the throttle down, so you're just pinpointing a lot of friction and temperature into the front right tyre. That way, it is very easy to overheat the tyres in this car. Probably one of the easiest cars to overheat the tyres, on the front tyres anyway. Which is why the F-Type's not good on tyres, even though it's a relatively light car for Gr3. And, there's cars out there that have more weight in the front compared to the F-Type. But just because of the way it drives, it still overheats the front and uses a lot of front tyre wear. So first trying lap without slipstreaming that as a 2:17, not a great lap, but since this was my first race I did of the day, didn't really do any practice for it or anything, so considering I was only 3 tenths or so off the match during the first thing, not a terrible lap. Then obviously we lost time in passively as well, so yeah. First sector we're 10th up already, so we're already aiming to be into the 0.5s with that small improvement. I decided to push a little bit this lap just to try and cover P5, well not get P5 to catch me, but I'm still going to be tyre saving of course. There's obviously going to be a lap time here, since I am tyre saving. And plus it's my first race, I'm still making mistakes. Like I just think better with my 0.2 which getting but we'll see what the lap time is here. As you can see with the steering angle, it's still roughly the same as uphill laps, just about an overheater from my tyre. I should have maybe tightened a touch more on this section, but honestly, I want to try catch up to the P3, P2 battle in case they do start to battle and get into an incident or just go side by side and lose a lot of time. So I knew that a podium was possible in this race though. The wind's out the gates unless everyone was to massively crash. But I knew a P2 or even a P3 or even a P2 was possible here. So I was carrying on pushing, seeing what sort of pace I could do in this exercise and try and catch up to people ahead. So as you can see, the guy ahead of me, I believe he would have got a 3-second penalty for the pit entrance since he lost a lot of time to take the penalty and he was 4 seconds up the road. So I imagine he got a 3-second penalty for the pit entrance since he was 6. Very easy to do, which is why I talked about whereabouts I was braking for the pit entrance, which is around 120 meters on this track. So now, finally, I'm going to talk about viable race cars. So, some of the cars I talked about, the time chart at the start of my qualifying reference lap, I don't think some of those cars will be the best for the race. So, I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 viable race cars. So first of all, the F-Type, the car's just got really good acceleration, where it doesn't have the best tyre, it does have good acceleration and top speed, and if you are able to tyre save, there's no reason you can't fight for wins in this car. Of course it drives quite nicely, it doesn't have much oversteer, it's quite stable with the downhill section and that, so you're unlikely to make huge mistakes here unless you were to take a lot of curving in the S2 corners or take too much speed into the downhill section. You can very easily get caught onto the curb and get shoved out into the barrier, penalty and damage, and lose more time than that. So F-Type's a viable car. I say a Beetle's a viable car. That car's got very good acceleration, but it doesn't have great top speed. Not the best tyre either, but it's got very good front downforce, so that it can take the high-speed corners, especially in Sector 2, very well, and probably quite a bit better than the F-Type, I would imagine. So I'd say the Beetle's quite a viable car. Maybe not quite as good as the F-Type, but still a viable car. And I would say it's even easier to drive as well, since that car is very stable. Another race car I would recommend is the Gr3 X. Pretty similar to the F-Type, it's got similar acceleration and top speed characteristics, I would say it's a bit more stable as well, but it is just as bad on tyres, and it doesn't quite suit my driving style as much as the F-Type, so I'm probably not quite as good as the Gr3, but since you need quite a bit of acceleration on this track, since there's quite a few slow to medium speed corners, especially going uphill and downhill, where you need the best possible exit to gain as much time as possible to your opponents and go for overtakes and defend, etc., you will want a good acceleration and top speed car, which is why I would recommend the Gr3 here. Another car is the old Porsche 911. Reason for that is because that car tends to be very good in high speed BOP. It's got good downforce, it's got decent acceleration, okay top speed, especially in slipstream, and good tyre wear. Not the best tyre wear, but good enough compared to FR rivals, better than the F-Type especially and the Gr3. And I would say it's quite easy to drive on MR. It does understeer a bit as you pick up the throttle, but it is pretty stable, I would imagine. So I would recommend that car if you feel like driving it. Talking of Porsche, I would recommend also the new Porsche. That car's just really good on tyres, very stable, decent acceleration out of the slow speed corners, but it does suffer with top speed, similar to the Beetle. And it's obviously not got as good acceleration either. So I would recommend the new Porsche. Any other cars I will mention? Last car I'll mention is the Toyota Supra. Just because that car has the best top speed, decent high downforce, decent downforce for the high speed corners, but it does suffer with tyre wear and early acceleration thanks to its turbo lag. So it won't be great at coming out of its corner, for example, but once it gets to, I would say, 4th gear and upwards, that car's got really good acceleration in those 4th, 5th and 6th gears, where it just has so much top speed where as long as you defend the inside, it is hard to overtake the Supra. So I reckon it's a very good race car here. As you can see, the BTS Sport guy had a penalty, so now that puts me in second. However, I'm not a guaranteed second because it's quite easy to make a mistake on that track. Not only that, I've only got a 1.4 second gap to the French guy behind me, who also pitted on lap 6 in the Beetle. And since that Beetle is very good on the mountain section of the track, he can very easily catch enough time to get enough of the slipstream from the last sector, of the last long straight, and get me into the chicane or out of the chicane, etc. So now it's the last lap. I can now kind of push my tyres since I don't need these tyres after this lap, and just try and have enough of a gap where I won't have to defend for the chicane and the last corner. But before we get to that, I want to say, first of all, thanks for the recent support as always. Thank you to all the members and the people that are gifted members in my live streams. I truly appreciate you guys. I love to do this. I am going to be doing a lot of daily streams this week. So the plan is I'm going to stream, so you'll just hopefully seen the stream from yesterday. By the time this comes out, I'm recording it on the Monday afternoon, but this is to come out on Tuesday afternoon. I will be streaming later that day, probably around the 5 o'clock area, 5:30 PM UK time. I'll probably be doing it all afternoon / evening. Not all evening, I should say. Wednesday I'll be streaming the Nations race, so I'll probably stream that from 4 PM and do however many slots I feel like doing, depending on the results and the enjoyment I get out of doing the combo. Thursday I'll be releasing the lap time challenge video. I might stream the dailies later that day, not 100% sure. Friday I'll stream all afternoon / evening. And I'll also have the guide for the last round of the Nations in the morning on a Friday. Saturday, I'll be streaming the last round of the Nations, so from 4 PM again, and probably all afternoon / evening, depending on how I'm doing slots. And Sunday, I might stream in the afternoon. Well, other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this has helped you guys. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. I'd appreciate a like and a sub, and I'll see you for this afternoon stream. Cheers, guys.